Hi, and welcome to Cenario, your partner in mental wellness. Here on our channel, we share educational, insightful, and science-backed content to help you understand your mental health and take meaningful steps toward a more balanced life. If you're ready to learn, grow, and take control of your wellness journey, let's jump right in.
Let's talk about something that can feel like a total contradiction. You've got the heavy, sinking weight of depression, but at the same time, you've got this restless, buzzing energy of anxiety. It's a real condition called depression with anxious distress, and really, just understanding what it is, that's the absolute first step toward getting a handle on it.
And this quote, it just nails it, right? It gets that there's this internal storm happening, this chaos, but it also gives you a sense of hope, a goal to aim for, finding that calm even when it feels completely impossible.
So let me ask you this, just straight up. Have you ever felt that deep sadness, but also been intensely worried at the exact same time? If you have, you know this is so much more than just a bad mood. It's a very specific and honestly a really challenging experience that we're going to unpack right now.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. Look at how different the internal feeling is. Typical depression often feels like everything's slowing down or you feel kind of numb. But anxious distress completely changes the game. It's not slow. It's this state of constant pressure. It's a restless energy, this feeling of being totally keyed up. The anxiety basically puts a motor on the depression, and that is just incredibly draining.
And this thing has an official name. In the DSM-5, which is kind of the official guidebook for mental health pros, it's not its own separate disorder. It's called a specifier, which is really just a clinical way of saying it's a specific subtype of depression, one where anxiety isn't just a minor side note. Nope, it's a persistent central feature of the whole experience.
So how does a doctor actually diagnose this? Well, they're looking for at least two of these specific things. Feeling constantly tense or keyed up, an unusual kind of restlessness, having a really hard time concentrating because you're so worried, or just this persistent fear that something awful is right around the corner.
And here is why getting that diagnosis right is so critical. Anxious distress basically acts as a clinical red flag. It tells doctors that the road to recovery might be a bit tougher, that treatment might work more slowly, and that there's a higher risk of relapse. And that is exactly why you need a really targeted, focused strategy.
Which brings us right to our next section, why naming it matters. This is all about the power that you get from just having clarity, from knowing what you're actually up against.
So here's the bottom line. Recognizing this condition does two incredibly important things. First, for the clinician, it totally guides the treatment plan. They know they need to monitor more closely and pick therapies or meds that hit both the anxiety and the depression. And second, for the person going through it, it's so validating. It finally gives you an explanation for why you might feel like you're taking one step forward and two steps back all the time.
This quote is just so powerful. It completely reframes the whole thing. Feeling this way is not a sign of weakness. It is not a personal failure. It's a sign that your nervous system is, for all intents and purposes, stuck in high alert. That's a physiological thing, not some kind of character flaw. So if the condition itself is layered and complex, it just makes sense that the treatment has to be too. And that brings us to what's called a multimodal treatment plan, which is all about a layered approach to care.
Right, because you're dealing with two things here, the depression and the anxiety. The treatment has to go after both. The best plans don't just throw one solution at the problem and hope it sticks. They strategically combine medication, different kinds of therapy, and really important behavioral changes.
So treatment is usually built on three main pillars. First, you've got medication, which helps manage the underlying brain chemistry. Second is psychotherapy, which gives you the actual tools to change your thought patterns and behaviors. And then for cases that are more resistant, there are procedural options that can directly stimulate the parts of the brain that are involved. If we look a little closer at medication, the first-line defense is often an SSRI or an SNRI. These are antidepressants that work on brain chemicals like serotonin. If those don't quite do the trick, a clinician might add a second medication, an adjunctive agent, to kind of boost the effect. But here's a super important point. Having high anxiety can make you more sensitive to side effects, so treatment often has to start low and go slow.
Therapy has to be adapted too. It's not just about talking about feeling down. A good therapist will directly target the anxiety by helping you tackle catastrophic thinking, pushing back against that urge to avoid everything, using things like mindfulness to calm the nervous system down, and crucially, addressing the sleep problems that fuel both sides of this thing.
Now, when the initial treatments just aren't cutting it, there are some advanced procedural options. You've got RTMS, which is a non-invasive therapy using targeted magnetic pulses to kind of wake up underactive parts of the brain. And then there's ECT, which, yeah, it's more intensive, but it's also one of the most effective and rapid treatments we have, usually reserved for really severe cases where you need improvement and you need it now.
Okay, so with all these different options, how in the world do you know what's actually working? Well, that brings us to the absolutely critical role of monitoring. This is all about making decisions based on data, not just on guesswork.
You see, effective monitoring isn't just a clinician asking, "So, how are you feeling?" It's an active process. It means using simple, standardized questionnaires to track symptoms objectively. This gives you a score for both depression and anxiety. And you combine that with regular safety planning and a clear plan for what to do if the scores just aren't getting better.
And this right here is the key rhythm of what's called measurement-based care. Using those rating scales every 2 to 4 weeks gives you the objective data you need to see the trends. Are things getting better? Are they staying the same? Or are they getting worse? This lets you and your doctor make much faster, much more effective tweaks to the treatment plan.
And thankfully, modern technology makes this whole process way easier than it used to be. There are digital trackers and apps that can help you and your clinician gather this data consistently. It creates this really clear picture of your progress, not just during your appointments, but every single day in between.
All right, let's bring all this home in our final section, your path to clarity. This is about moving from that feeling of being confused and totally overwhelmed into taking clear, constructive action.
Here are 3 immediate things you can do. First, start tracking your symptoms. Just get a clear picture for yourself. Second, take that data, your scores, and share it with your clinician to help guide the conversation. And third, ask them specifically about a multimodal plan, one that targets both the depression and the anxiety.
And this is really the main takeaway from this whole explainer. The best path forward starts with clarity. When you actually understand the specific thing you're facing, you can work on a structured, data-driven plan instead of just getting stuck in a frustrating cycle of trial and error.
So I'll just leave you with this final thought to chew on. After everything we've talked about, what is one small, manageable step you can take today to move yourself, or maybe someone you care about, from that state of confusion toward one of clarity?
Thank you for watching Cenario. If this video helped you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. For personalized mental wellness supplements, visit Cenario.com. See you in the next one.